The History of World War One Part 3. This is the third and final part of the series. As told earlier that I have divided the story into 18 chapters. If you haven't watched the first and second parts, then go watch them first. Now, in this video, let's delve into chapters 13 to 18 and let's complete the story. So let's begin. Chapter 30. Second Battle of Marne. With Germany able to build up its strength on the Western Front after the armistice with Russia, Allied troops struggled to hold off another German offensive until promised reinforcements from the United States were able to arrive. On July 15, 1918, German troops launched what would become the last German offensive of the war, attacking French forces joined by 85,000 American troops as well as some of the British Expeditionary Force in the Second Battle of Marne. The Allies successfully pushed back the German offensive and launched their own counter-offensive just 3 days later. After suffering massive casualties, Germany was forced to call off a planned offensive further north. In the Flanders region stretching between France and Belgium, which was envisioned as Germany's best hope of victory, the Second Battle of Marne turned the tide of war decisively towards the Allies, who were able to regain much of France and Belgium in months that followed. Chapter 14. Role of the 92nd and 93rd Divisions. By the time World War I began, there were 4 all-black regiments in the US military. The 24th and the 25th Infantry and the 9th and 10th Cavalry. All 4 regiments comprised of celebrated soldiers who fought in the Spanish-American War and American-Indian Wars and served in the American territories, but they were not deployed for overseas combat in World War I. Blacks serving alongside white soldiers on the front lines in Europe was inconceivable to the US military. Instead, the first African American troops sent overseas served in segregated labor battalions, restricted to menial roles in the Army and Navy, and shut out of the Marines entirely. Their duty mostly included unloading ships, transporting materials from train depots, bases and ports, digging trenches, cooking and maintenance, removing barbed wires and inoperable equipment and burying soldiers. Facing criticism from the black community and civil rights organizations for its quotas against the treatment of African American soldiers in the war effort, the military formed 2 black combat units in 1917, the 92nd and 93rd Division. Trained separately and inadequately in the United States, the divisions fared differently in the war. The 92nd faced criticism for their performance in the Meuse-Argonne campaign in September 1918. The 93rd Division, however, had more success. With dwindling armies, France asked America for their reinforcement, and General John Pershing, commander of the American Expeditionary Forces, sent regiments to the 93rd Division to Over. Since France had experience fighting alongside black soldiers from the Senegalese French colonial army, the 93rd Division's 369 Regiment, nicknamed the Harlem Hellfighters, fought so gallantly with a total of 191 days on the front lines, longer than any AEF regiment, that France awarded them the Croix de Guerre for their heroism. More than 350,000 African American soldiers would serve in World War I in various capacities. Chapter 15. Towards Armistice. By the fall of 1918, the Central Powers were unraveling on all fronts. Despite the Turkish victory at Gallipoli, later defeats by invading forces and an Arab revolt that destroyed the Ottoman economy and devastated its land, and the Turks signed a treaty with the Allies in late October 1918. Austria and Hungary, dissolving from within due to growing nationalist movements among its diverse population, reached an armistice on November 4. Facing dwindling resources on the battlefield, discontent on the home front, and surrender of its allies, Germany was finally forced to seek an armistice on November 11, 1918, ending World War I. Chapter 16. Treaty of Versailles. At the Paris Peace Conference in 1919, Allied leaders stated their desire to build a post-war world that would safeguard itself against future conflicts of such devastating scale. Some hopeful participants had even begun calling World War I the war to end all wars. But the Treaty of Versailles, signed on June 28, 1919, would not achieve that lofty goal. Saddled with war guilt, heavy repartitions, and denied entrance into League of Nations, Germany felt tricked into signing the treaty, having believed any peace would be peace without victory, as put forward by President Wilson in his famous 14-point speech of January 1918. As the years passed, hatred of the Versailles Treaty and its authors settled into a smoldering resentment in Germany that would 2 decades later be counted among the causes of World War II. Chapter 17: World War I Casualties. World War I took the lives of more than 9 million soldiers. 21 million more were wounded. Civilian casualties numbered close to 10 million. The two nations most affected were Germany and France, each of which sent some 80% of their male population between the ages of 15 and 49 into battle. The political disruption surrounding World War I also contributed to the fall of 4 venerable imperial dynasties: Germany, Austria-Hungary, Russia, and Turkey. Chapter 18: Legacy of World War I. World War I brought about massive social upheaval as millions of women entered the workforce to replace men who went to war and those who never came back. The First Global War also helped to spread one of the world's deadliest global pandemics, the Spanish flu epidemic of 1918, which killed an estimated 20 to 50 million people. World War I has also been referred to as the first modern war. Many of the technologies now associated with military conflicts, machine guns, tanks, aerial combat, and radio communications, were introduced on a massive scale during World War I. The severe effects that chemical weapons such as mustard gas and phosgene had on soldiers and civilians during World War I galvanized public and military attitudes against their continued use. The Geneva Convention Agreement, signed in 1925, restricted the use of chemical and biological agents in warfare, and that remain in effect today as well. This World War I series ends here. I hope you liked this new type of content. These 3 videos were one of the most researched videos of mine, so please like the videos and share them with others. Comment down below if you want the same series with World War II as well. Now, a surprise for all those who are watching till the end. That is, the new video will be coming on Tuesday again. That means in less than a week. We are coming back on track now. For this surprise, subscribe the channel please. I will meet you this Tuesday. Till then, take care and thanks for watching.